I just went to Barney, spent your whole year's salary. I never wore Yeezys, that's a fact. Every week is fashion week for me.
Like swiping through Tinder for fun, and then she came across this really hot dude. So of course she swiped right, and they talked all night long. And he said he had an Android, so he couldn't FaceTime, but his messages were blue, so I thought something was off. She was too blinded to see that something was up in the first place because she was messaging with a really hot guy. So about a week of them just like texting back and forth and I guess getting to know each other, they decided that they were gonna meet up. So they both decided that they were gonna meet up at an Olive Garden near them. And you see, as her best friend, of course, I'm gonna have to go with her. So I got dressed up and I sat about 5 tables away from her. And we got there about 30 minutes earlier than we were supposed to be there. Okay, so my best friend had 3 bowls of fettuccine alfredo before he got there. So when he got there, it wouldn't look like she ate a lot. Then I see my dad walk in, all dressed up and fancy with a bow tie and everything. This story time just gets so much more funnier, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how my best friend was catfished by my dad. Continuing with the story, I see my dad walk into the restaurant all dressed up. Mind you, my dad's married. To my mother, of course. So I was like, ooh, my dad and my mom are finally going on a date together. And then he looks over to my best friend and walks over to the table. When I tell you my heart dropped, my heart has never sank so deep inside me so fast. He sits down and asks her, is this Mackenzie? When I tell you I busted out laughing so freaking hard I fell out of my chair. And almost everybody in the restaurant turned around and looked at me, and so did my dad. And I walk over to the table and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? My best friend is literally just sitting there in shock, no emotion on her face. Then he looks at us, he looks really confused, his face goes blank, and then he goes, I was just trying to teach y'all girls a lesson. I told my mom and I was just getting a laugh out of it, and then she looked through his phone and said that he was meeting up with a bunch of 14-year-old girls. So comes to find out, my dad is a pedophile. My mom kicked him out, and if you're one of those girls, I really do apologize.
So when I was a sophomore in high school, I had this teacher who would only let the students in her class use the restroom 1 time per semester. Well, one day I raised my hand and I was like, excuse me, I don't remember her name. Can I please use the restroom? And she was like, no, you can't because you've already used the restroom in my class this semester. Well, excuse me, you can't dictate my bladder. So I'm like all frustrated, and I started secretly texting my mom because I wasn't allowed to use my phone in class. And I was like, Mom, I'm sitting in class right now. My teacher won't let me use the restroom. And she was like, I'll take care of it for you. And I was like, okay. So like 5 minutes goes by, and all of a sudden my teacher's phone starts ringing. And she walks up to it and answers it, and she's like, hello? Yeah. Okay, thank you. And then she walks up to me like so angry, and she like slams the pass on my desk, and she was like, since you have to go that bad. And I was like, yeah, I really do, thanks. And I got up and left. I didn't even have to go to the bathroom. It was just the principle of it. I just roamed the halls.
This is a story of the time that I caught my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So I don't know about you guys, but every single Wednesday in my middle school, we would have a bagel sale. And some people's parents would come in to help out. And my neighbor's mom was one of those parents. And I had a best friend at the time whose mom would also work at the bagel sales. But this best friend of mine, her mom never let us hang out with each other because she felt that I was a bad influence on her. When in reality, it was the complete opposite. She was the one that snuck the boys in her house, if you guys remember that story time, where they peed in a flower pot. So basically her mom wouldn't let us hang out. And sometimes my friend would go with her mom in the morning, basically as a ride to school, and to help out with the bagels too. And one day when she went in with her mom, my neighbor's mom also was there too. So my friend starts eavesdropping into their conversation, and my friend's mom brings me up and says how much of a bad kid I am and a bad influence. And my neighbor's mom was like, oh wow, that's my neighbor, like we always suspected something bad about her, our whole entire neighborhood knows this about her, basically making stuff up about me. So then I go home crying, tell my mom. Part 2 of catching my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So my best friend tells me all these things that my neighbor was saying about me, obviously. And I got really upset, so I went home and I just started to cry. Because for some reason I felt like when I was younger, every one of my friends' parents hated me. And I never really knew why. I was always the type of person to like let my friends do whatever they want and encourage them in doing whatever they want, whether that's breaking the rules or following the rules. So I mean, I guess that could be something, but I'm just being a supportive friend, like... Sorry, I got off topic. So when I told my mom, she was like, okay, come with me, I'm gonna knock on her door. And I was like, heck no, I do not feel like dealing with this. Mom, you deal with it. So she calls her up on the phone, puts her on speakerphone, confronts her about the situation, and this lady starts going on about how she loves me like I'm her own child, saying that I was never a bad influence on her daughter, and that she actually wanted me to hang out with her daughter more. Like, that's not what she was saying at bagel sale.
This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time. So back when my cute self was a senior in high school, there was this new girl that came to our school. Long story short, me and her ended up becoming super close. I went to her house, spent the night. Her family loved me. I mean, why wouldn't they? Anyways, she had a brother. We're gonna call him Binky. Me and Binky got pretty close. Now I want you guys to keep in mind, Binky didn't go to my school because their parents were divorced. So the sister who I was friends with lived with her mom, and Binky lived with his dad who lived in another city. But sometimes Binky would go to his mom's house, which is how I met him. Now that we got that out of the way, as me and Binky were getting closer, one day he asked me, hey, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I just turned 17. How about you? He told me, oh, I'm 17 too, but my 18th birthday is coming up. After a while, me and him eventually started dating. Then one day, I ran into his cousin who happened to go to my school. The rest of this story is crazy. This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time. So I ran into his cousin who just so happened to go to the same school as me. What a small world. Anyways, we start having a conversation and she asked me, oh my God, are you dating Binky? And I was like, oh, how do you know that? Because at the time, I didn't know that she was his cousin. And he didn't go to the same school as me. So I didn't know how she would have known that. And then she tells me, oh, that's my cousin. As we're talking, she says, oh, are you going to go to his birthday party? And I'm like, no, he actually didn't tell me he was having a birthday party. Weird. And she's like, yeah, that's really weird because it's like coming up next week. And I'm just sitting here like, well, maybe he'll tell me. He probably just had a lot on his mind. And then she says, I can't believe he's going to be 16 already. Time flies. We're going to throw him a sweet 16 party. After she says that, I just look at her like, you mean 18, right? Like, you said 16. I think you meant 18. Sorry, there has to be a part 3. This boy lied about his age just to date me. Story time. Part 3. So his cousin starts talking about I can't believe he's going to be 16. And I look at her thinking I'm tripping. Like, you said 18, right? Like, you didn't mean 16, you meant 18. And then she's like, no, I meant 16. So that's when I found out he's actually 16 or about to be 16. So I was 17 dating a 15-year-old. And I know a lot of you were like, oh my God, it's not really that much of an age gap. Listen, the fact that he lied about it is bad enough for me. Secondly, I would have been 18 and he still would have been 16, turning 17. But that's a little weird for me and I didn't want to catch a case. That's why I wasn't looking for a younger boy. After I find out this new information, of course I tell my best friends. And they start hyping me up, break up with him, which is what I did. I sent him this huge paragraph. I kind of went off. Of course, he replied to my paragraph saying, I'm sorry, I don't want to lose you, blah, blah, blah. I basically told him, sorry, I don't want to be with liar. I blocked him and haven't seen him.
This is why it's better to have one friend that you hang out with regularly instead of having a big group of friends. And trust me, you're going to want to listen to this story time. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was kind of going through an identity crisis and low-key still am. I went to a predominantly white school for the majority of my life. So let's just say I was extremely whitewashed. It was one of those times in my life where if a white person said the N-word around me, I would just laugh. Not because I didn't know it was wrong, but because I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to be like everybody else and I seeked validation. Sophomore year was really when I started to become who I am today. I wanted to learn way more about my culture and my background. So I started becoming friends with people from other schools that are more diverse. Eventually, I met this group of girls. And I thought these girls were going to be the sweetest girls I would ever meet. Now, this friend group was serving flavor. I'm talking diverse to the T. One night, we decided that we were going to spend the night at one of the girls' houses. Let's call this girl Sally. I kept getting lost on the way to Sally's house, and I thought it was because I didn't know the area that well. Keep in mind, that's what I thought was the reason. I get there and we watch like 4 or 5 movies before I end up falling asleep. And when I wake up, I was in a room full of grown-ass men staring at me. Storytime part 2 of why it's better to have one loyal friend instead of a big group of friends. I forgot to mention in part 1 that when I arrived, the men were already there. Mind you, we were in sophomore year. These men looked like they were in college. So I was already a little thrown off, but I trusted it because I was with my friend. When I wake up, these men are like staring at me. But they try to look away really fast, but I could tell that they were staring at me. I start thinking the worst of the worst. I try to think of any possible way that I could get out of there, whether it was physically or mentally. So I pretend to fall asleep just to escape the reality of it. But then one of the men at the bottom of the bed starts rubbing my feet. I immediately kick my leg so I can get his hands off. Now I'm thinking he's gonna be mad and I'm gonna get fucking attacked. So I try to make small talk to loosen the tension. So I look at the guys and I'm like, hey, do you know where the girls went? One of them looks at me and says, oh, They went home. So I'm like, I thought this was Sally's house. And they say nothing. So at this point, I think I'm being set up. I try my best to not make it seem like I'm suspicious of them. I casually act like I need to pee. Walk into the bathroom and I see a window. Automatically something clicks in my mind, get the fuck out of there. Making part 3 right now. Part 3 of why you should have one loyal friend instead of hanging out with a big group of friends. So I go into the bathroom and there's a window. I'm thinking to myself, I would be so dumb. I would be so extremely incredibly stupid to go back into that room full of grown ass men that I've never met before, instead of making my escape through that window right here, right now. So I trusted my gut and I got the fuck out of there. Mind you, I'm in my PJs right now. No shoes, no socks. I'm making my great escape. Call me Pablo Escobar. While I was doing all of it, I was in disbelief. Like, I cannot believe that I'm escaping, like, right now. Like, this is actually insane. Like, I did what I believed was right at the moment. And honestly, that decision might be the reason why I'm alive right now. So I make a run for it. I immediately run to the front of the neighborhood. I hide behind some trees and then I call my sister. I call my sister instead of my parents because my mom was the one who drove me there. And if she knew that something bad happened, she wouldn't have let me go out again. I'm frantically explaining everything on the phone to my sister. She literally speeds to come get me. When she gets there, I immediately hop in her car and we get the fuck out of there. On our way home, I get a text from Sally. Last part is part 4. I'm making that right now. Part 4 of why you should have one loyal friend instead of having a big group of friends. So I'm on my way home and I get a text from Sally. Hey girl, where are you? We went to the gas station to get some milkshakes. You could have came with, but you were already asleep. I didn't even respond. I just blocked all of them because I know damn well that they were not getting milkshakes. Because 1, why didn't they wake me up to get milkshakes? Because I wasn't the first person to fall asleep. I'd never fall asleep first at somebody's house with a big group of people. I saw somebody else who looked like they were sleeping, so I thought that I was going to fall asleep too. 2, why were all those grown ass men there? Nobody told me that they were going to be there. Like I said, we were sophomores. These men were in college. Maybe even graduated from college. They were grown. 3, why would she lie about it being her house? 4, why did the boy say she went home? I remember when I said I kept getting lost because I didn't know the area. Once I went back to look through the messages that I had with those girls to see if there was anything fishy going on, I noticed that they were all sending me different addresses. Either one number would be off or a letter would be off. They definitely were planning something because they were trying to get me there late. I haven't seen or talked to those girls since then.
People you don't know on Roblox. I met this guy on Roblox and his name was Jimmy X Bear. He asked if we could be friends on Roblox and I said sure. I wasn't sus of him until a week later when he'd asked me to join his game. And I said sure. So I joined his game. He started then telling me that I was going to get hacked and that I should stay off Roblox. I was completely confused. I didn't know what to say, so I just left the game. After a week or so, I went back on because of how scared I was, and I was logged out of my account. And now I didn't know what to do. So I went to go log into my account. After 20 or so tries, I finally got back in. I looked to go in my Roblox chats and saw Jimmy X Bear. You won't believe what he said next. Come back for part 2. Part 2 of what Jimmy X Bear said next. I went to go look in my Roblox chats and I got a chat from Jimmy X Bear. He said, your account is now mine. I was speechless. Right away, I unfriended him and contacted my parents and my friends. None of my friends would believe me, so I said to go on ALT accounts and join his group. I pretended we were a Roblox group of friends and we wanted to be his friend. So for days of playing with him and acting like we liked him, my friend's main account got hacked. Now at this point, I didn't know what to say. I thought it was kind of my fault, so I knew I had to do something. I did next friended him again. And I chatted him back and asked, what are you trying to do to me? Stay tuned for part 3. So part 3 on Jimmy X Bear. He decided to tell me the truth of what he was trying to do. He told me that he was trying to get my family, especially my number. He wanted to come to my house. After he said that, I immediately unfriended him and never played Roblox again. At least for like 2 weeks because I was terrified. I told my parents the story and they told me I was not allowed in Roblox. At least for a month or 2. I did get random texts and random calls from this number. All I did was block. And yeah, that's basically it.
Cool, I know I'm not supposed to mention this to anyone or reveal my identity, but since this is anonymous, here goes nothing. Back in 7th grade there was this kid named Emery. He had autism and everyone bullied him. He was new and I was his only friend. On Valentine's Day I bought him flowers and chocolates but didn't tell him it was from me. I watched his face light up when he picked up his roses from the basket in front of the whole class. Even the teacher was like, what the fuck? He was so excited he decided to go around asking girls if it was them. I tried to tell him it was me but I didn't want to embarrass him. He ended up getting rejected by like 20 girls and skipping class to cry in the bathrooms. I skipped lunch to sit in the library and talk with him. He told me he wanted revenge and I thought he was just going to TP her house or egg her parents' car. But no. The following week in TX history class we went into lockdown. I asked the teacher if it was a drill and she said no. So I went under my desk. Everyone tried to call their parents but there was no Wi-Fi. This is kinda long so might need a part 2.
Then the principal started speaking on the intercom telling everyone to hide because there was a shooter. Then my teacher told us to sit against the wall. The teacher turned off the lights and told us to not make a sound. Then we started hearing gunshots. After like 15 minutes we stopped hearing the shots. So when me and my class calmed down we asked the teacher for some water. The teacher got cups of water for everyone out of the water dispensary. So we were all drinking, then we heard a loud banging on the door in the hallway. All the girls that rejected Emery the day before were crying saying that Emery is gonna kill them. We started hearing the door unlocking, then all the girls shut the frick up. So the door opened, and it was the principal. He told us he was trying to escape from the shooter, so he was sitting in the room with us. Then my stomach started hurting and some other kid started shitting his pants. Then the principal pulled out a gun. And started shooting the kid that was shitting his pants. He said, "Die, you disgusting piece of shit." Then everyone started running out the room. So I tried to run, but then the principal knocked me and 2 other kids out, so I woke up like an hour later and the principal had us tied up and the other 2 kids were still knocked out. So I told him to let us go but he said that he was gonna keep us as hostages. He started drinking a bunch of water then splashed the 2 other kids which made them wake up and they started crying. He told them to shit the fuck up then tied us all together with a extension cord. He walked us out to the front of the building while holding on to the extension cord so we couldn't run. He was behind us and had the gun faced at all of us. Then when we got outside all the parents and police were out there and they were telling him to
Darlings, do you want to know the secret to my supermodel brow?
let us go.
Storytime on how my password got leaked onto Roblox. This one day I was on Roblox. I was maybe around the age 7-8. I was in those really catchy games called like Escape McDonald's or Escape whoever, you know? I was in all those like games. I'd always join a server with 3 noobs. Not noobs as in bacon hair. Noobs as in yellow, green, blue skin. I didn't think much about it until this one day. I was in one of those catchy games. As I was in it, I made it to this one part of the stage where I saw 3 of the noobs like huddled together, in a circle. I was kind of confused, like what's happening, so I was just walking around and like investigating or something. I saw them chatting things. I was like really, really nervous. You will not believe what they chatted. Like for part 2. And thank you so much for the support. Part 2 on how my password got leaked onto Roblox. As I was investigating the noobs, I noticed they were typing something that I didn't feel comfortable about. They kept on typing my password. Not as in typing like they say it once and then they move on. They typed it like 5 or 6, maybe even more times. As they were typing it, people in the chat were going question mark, question mark. They were on a different level, so I couldn't really see them saying it, but I saw it in the chat. So I kind of felt uncomfortable. I just thought maybe they were talking about something else. It doesn't have to be my password. So I just kept on finishing the obby. Then I made it to this other point, maybe like 5 stages later. I saw the 3 exact same noobs, and they were just sitting by each other like a line. I was wondering, do they have admin to this game or something? But now that I think of it, they were hackers, so of course they did. As they were sitting down, they were leaking my password again. But as they were leaking my password, it came with a little... Part 3 of how my password got leaked onto Roblox. The surprise was, they were leaking my password with my email. And I used the same password for literally everything. My email, my Roblox account, everything, my phone, everything. So as they were leaking my email, I went to check was it really my email, and it really was. And if you log into my email account, on the side it has like my credit card with all my credit card info.
and I didn't know how to turn it off. I was really, really scared. I was like, oh my God. So they just kept on spamming that, and then they stopped spamming. And they said, ha ha ha, we got you. I was like, ha ha ha, we got who? And what did you get? They said, we know you're scared and we know you're a little kid. At the time, I was younger. And then I noticed they were talking about me. I got really, really nervous. Like for part.
One day when I was 13, I snuck in my mom's room while she was in the shower and I hid under her bed. I closed my bedroom door so she would think I'm in my room. I was giggling at the thought of her getting scared. I heard my dad open the front door downstairs, meaning he's back from work. My mom finished up showering and I heard her get out and welcome my dad. They both slowly and quietly came into the bedroom and I saw their clothes drop on the floor. I put my hand over my mouth and they got on the bed and started doing the deed. The bed was bouncing so much I swear the mattress was bonking my head every few seconds. The room started smelling like sweaty cheese and I was trying not to vomit. I was crying so much with my hand still over my mouth, and then they finished. I heard my mom say, "Great, now I have to shower again." And my dad said, "Me too." They then both went into the shower together and I quickly ran back to my room and got into bed and started crying. I now have a baby sister as well.
When I was in year 7, me and my friend were in the toilets together on our phones, but then older years came in and we didn't want to walk out together because it would look like we were. Anyway, I then desperately needed, but there was no time for her to get out, so I said, "Turn around and close your eyes," and I took a huge dump, but when it was coming out so loudly, and then my friend was laughing so hard and it made me giggle, but when I laughed I farted consistently, and all the older years heard, and my friend was just crying with laughter whilst I wanted to crawl into a hole and die. So anyway, the older years started crowding round my cubicle and I was scared. Long story short, we were a bit late to lesson because they wouldn't leave until they knew who was in there.
Story time of how I found out that my mom was actually my older sister. My older sister never really liked me as a child. We were never close. I never knew why, but I was guessing it was because of the 10-year age gap. But I'm pretty sure she hated me because she couldn't even look me in the eye. I cannot make this up. She would not look me in the eye. But she never really talked to my parents either. She kind of just kept to herself all the time. Sometimes I have vivid memories of when we were younger and she would always be arguing with my parents about something, and I always thought it had something to do with me. Well, I was right. It had everything to do with me because eventually my sister turned 18 and she moved out. For 2 years, I didn't talk to her at all. I honestly don't even think I had her number saved, and I'm pretty sure that she didn't have mine. Well, 2 years later, and I was 10 at the time, she reached out to me via social media. I'm not sure how she found my Instagram name, but it was just my name, so she probably just typed that in and found me. She DM'd me and told me that she wanted to talk about something very important and that she would like to talk over the phone. So we exchanged numbers and we called that same night. And she told me that when she was younger, my dad had taken advantage of her and gotten her pregnant and had me. What's one really bad thing you did as a child that you kept secret for your entire life and didn't tell nobody? I'll go first. I got a lot of stories like this, but this is just one of them. So my mama used to put me in daycare, and in my daycare we used to do field trips, and we went to the YMCA. So while we were in the pool, this one white kid comes up to me. He asked me, like, "Why are you black?" And I was kind of embarrassed, but I wasn't mad at the kid. I was more embarrassed than I was mad. And I told him that my parents painted me every single day. And I was thinking back at the time when I scraped my knee and the skin came off and there was like no blood. It was just bone. But I didn't know that it was bone. I thought that I was just white underneath. So I was like, it's true, like I can peel my skin off and prove it. When I did that, I peeled skin off my finger and it was a lot of skin and I started bleeding really bad. So the water started getting red and the daycare people tried to get everybody out the water like there was something going on. And then once everybody was out of the water, one of the daycare people go, "I'm so sorry, everybody. I lost my tampon. I need to find it." Okay, so what happened was pretty self-explanatory, but I can make a part 2 if you guys want. So this is part 2 of the really bad thing that I did as a child and kept secret. So my daycare instructor, or whatever you call them, basically said that she had lost her tampon in the water. And I'm guessing she said that because she was on her period and she had a tampon in and the water started turning red, and that's the only reason that she could think of. But like they started checking all the kids and making sure that all the kids were okay and stuff. And when they came up to me and asked me if I was good, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine." And so they were looking in the water for like an hour, but there was no tampon. Like they they could not find the tampon. Like that one white kid, he was not part of the daycare. Like he wasn't one of the daycare kids. So they evacuated everybody out the pool. Like nobody was allowed in there. And like we all got back on the bus and we went back to the daycare. And the daycare instructor, who thought she had lost her tampon, literally talked to all of us and was like, things like this can happen as a woman and da-da. When you get older, you'll understand. But baby, I stayed mute. Ain't nobody know. One person knows, but hopefully she don't see this on her For You page. Sorry, Maddie.
Story time about how I got my ex-boyfriend back for cheating on me. So a lot of background information. My ex and I were together for almost 2 years, and throughout our whole entire relationship, he had been cheating on me. I'm not surprised though. But what I am surprised about is that he was cheating on me with my best friend. Well, my ex-best friend now. Before my ex and I got together, my best friend had a crush on him for like a week, right? And then she got a boyfriend. And I had asked her, is it okay if I get with him? Like, him and I have been talking, he said that he really likes me. And she said, yeah, of course, that's perfectly fine. I don't care, I don't like him anymore. So I was like, okay, we're all good to go. So a month later, him and I start dating. Well, I found out that he was cheating on me when I went through his phone and saw all these nude pictures of my best friends and videos of them doing the nasty. So I decided I had to get him back. And my best friend, of course. My best friend was still with her boyfriend. But her boyfriend was my ex-boyfriend's best friend. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how I got my ex-boyfriend back for cheating on me. So I'm just gonna throw this in here real quick. I'm pretty sure the only reason why my best friend did all that stuff with my ex was because she was pissed off at me for actually dating him. Because from what I had heard through other people who knew that she was doing that with my boyfriend, they said that she didn't talk to him or anything anymore. And that she really actually loved her boyfriend that she was with. Little TMI. Throughout my boyfriend and I's whole relationship, he would beg me to be open-minded while being intimate. And he would want to do things that I really just did not want to do. And there was a long list of things that he wanted me to do. So a week later, I told her boyfriend, but I told her boyfriend not to tell her because of my plan. And that whole week, my boyfriend was apologizing to me, saying he was so sorry and that he wants me back, blah, 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 blah. And my best friend thought that her boyfriend was loyal as fuck. Not anymore. So I told him about my plan, which was to do everything that my boyfriend begged me to do during our whole relationship with him. And for him, it would just be enough to send it to her because she thought he was loyal. Like for part 3. Part 3 about how I got my ex-boyfriend back for cheating on me. So like I said, I told her boyfriend my plan and everything like that, and he was on board right away. So he came over to my house, we did all that good shit. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys. My ex-best friend had begged me not to tell her boyfriend. She was like, you don't get it, like I really love him, like I really don't want to lose him. And I told her that I wouldn't tell him. But I don't really know what her boyfriend did. All I know is that I sent the video to my boyfriend. Oh, and also my boyfriend begged me not to tell her boyfriend because they were best friends. But I did it anyways, and like I said, I sent it to him, and I sent him a long paragraph. And then he sent me, oh, how could you do this to me, blah, blah, blah. You just ruined everything for me. Things will never be the same between us. And I was like, yeah, okay, good. I don't care. You were a piece of garbage anyways. But however, my ex-best friend, she took her boyfriend back, and now their relationship is toxic as fuck, and he cheats on her all the time. And they've been together now for like 3 years. Karma is a bitch.
Storytime about how I found out my girlfriend was cheating on me with my sister. Girlfriend and I have been together for 8 months, and when COVID hit, we decided to just quarantine together, and basically we moved in together. Oh, and yes, I am a girl. Got to know each other really well, and we really enjoyed the relationship. Well, my sister lost her job because of COVID, and she asked me if she could move in with my girlfriend and I. Of course, I said yes. She's my sister, and I totally have her back. So my sister moved into our guest bedroom. My sister also had a boyfriend. Let's call him Jason. Jason was so in love with my sister, he wanted to propose and even asked me to look at rings. Well, Jason proposed, and my sister said no. Everyone was shocked. My sister didn't give a reason why she didn't want to marry him, but she was really depressed. So my girlfriend would talk to her and just try to be her friend and comfort her. And I was happy that my girlfriend was trying to help out my sister. Jason kept trying to get my sister back, but she kept saying no. Well, one day I wake up from a nap and I hear weird noises coming from my sister's bedroom. I swing the door open and guess what I see? My sister and my girlfriend naked on her bed making out. The audacity. Part 2 is up. I walk in on my girlfriend and my sister doing the dirty. They both jump off the bed and start getting dressed really quickly. I left the room and sat on the couch. I couldn't even speak. My sister comes out of the room and asked me to understand. She explained to me that my sister was so kind to her after her breakup that she couldn't help but falling in love. I couldn't believe she said love. I just started to cry. Then my girlfriend comes out of the room fully dressed, and she swore that this was the first time they had ever even kissed. I didn't believe it for 1 second. My girlfriend was surprisingly really calm and it made me feel even worse. I started to get really angry, realizing that the whole time my sister was living there, they were probably hooking up and that's the reason why she didn't want to stay with her boyfriend or marry him. So I went into my sister's room, grabbed all her clothes and started throwing them out of our balcony. I even threw her laptop out the balcony. And we were on the 2nd floor. My sister was just chasing me around the apartment trying to stop me, but I would push her away. And I noticed my girlfriend is on her phone. I took the phone away from her and guess what she was looking at? Come back for part 3. After I caught my sister and girlfriend doing the dirty, I threw all my sister's things out of my apartment. Then I noticed my girlfriend is on her phone, so I take it away and guess what she was looking at? She was deleting her Tinder and Bumble app, which means she was looking for people to date. Mind you, her and I had been in a committed relationship for the past 8 months. My girlfriend had no emotion. She didn't apologize, didn't say anything, but my sister was super emotional, apologizing. Then my girlfriend pipes up and says, you know, this is all your fault. I said, why? She said that I pressured her into moving in with me and that everything happened too quickly, which is not true. We both decided to move in together, and my girlfriend suggested the area we should actually live in. Then she turns to my sister and tells her that she's immature and that neither of us are worth being with. I told her to get her things and leave. She said, you're breaking up with me? I was like, of course I am. And she said that I would never find anyone as good as her. I forgave my sister because she's blood, and we're still living together. My sister has a boyfriend and I'm trying to date people, but my ex still calls me even though she said I wasn't worth being with.